She arrived just as the sun was slipping behind tall city buildings, dust motes dancing in its fading glow. The brick facade of the mansion gleamed in the warm light, a palace of wealth sequestered behind wrought iron gates. A sleek black sedan rolled to a stop at the curb and she stepped out, her cleaning supplies nestled in the crook of one arm. Her uniform was simple but crisp, a white blouse and navy skirt that spoke of dignity and pride. Her braid fell down her back like a banner of strength. Pushing open the gate with a polite ring of her key, she walked up the stone steps and paused at the polished front door. She inhaled deeply, steeling herself. Inside awaited work, yes, but also the hum of a lonely house and secrets hidden behind gold-plated door handles. She unlocked the door and stepped into the grand foyer where marble floors reflected the crystal chandelier above. She set down her supplies and surveyed the space, dust settling in corners, fingerprints smudging mirrors, and cobwebs swaying in silent corners. This mansion had seen its share of guests and grand parties, but recently it had been quiet. Too quiet. She began in the foyer, wiping handrails, polishing banisters. Each surface gleamed under her careful touch. Upstairs lay a nursery, soft pastel walls and plush toys littering the floor. She climbed the staircase, her footsteps muffled by a crimson runner. At the top, a faint sobbing drifted from the far end of the hallway. She paused, gloved hand, on the banister. The sound was somber, almost mournful. Creeping toward the source, she discovered a room with the door slightly ajar. Through the sliver of opening, she saw a cradle rocking gently, a fuzzy pink blanket draped over the edge. And inside, a baby, his face red and tear-streaked as he cried, reaching his chubby arms skyward. No one else was in sight. The room lay in disarray. Dust settled atop a mobile of miniature wooden birds, half-erased scribbles on the walls, and a nanny's bag tossed on an armchair. She knocked softly, calling into the room. "Hey there, sweetheart. It's all right." The baby paused, eyes wide, tears pooling. His cries were tiny wails that spoke of hunger or loneliness. She pushed the door further open and stepped inside, lowering herself to one knee beside the cradle. Reaching gently, she scooped him into her arms. The moment she held him, his cries faltered. He nestled against her, cheek pressed to her blouse, fingers gripping her sleeve. She rocked him, humming softly as she steadied his breathing. Her own heart tightened at the weight of his need, of every child's longing for comfort. She murmured, "Shh, it's okay, baby. I'm here." And as if by magic, the sobs turned to sniffles, and finally, a soft sigh of relief as sleep threatened his eyelids. Just then the door swung open wider and he froze, clutching her neck. A tall man stood there, broad shoulders silhouetted against the hallway light. His tailored suit was impeccable, and his hair, streaked with silver at the temples, framed a face that had seen power and decision. His eyes widened as he saw his son cradled in the arms of this woman. He stepped into the room, gaze riveted. For a moment he was speechless. The hush in his voice was unexpected. "Where did you—" he began, then closed his mouth. The baby stirred, reaching for the man. She passed him into his father's arms. He held the child clumsily at first, his professional facade crumbling. The baby nestled into his chest, lip trembling as he studied the child's face. After a heartbeat, he brought the small hand to, his cheek pressing it gently, his voice thickened. "Why didn't anyone tell me he was still awake?" he murmured, eyes glistening. She stood and continued sweeping the floor, her presence quiet but steady. It was not her place to intrude. She was the cleaning lady after all. But in that moment she felt a surge of righteous pride. She had done what no one else had bothered to do. He straightened, gaze meeting hers with a complexity that startled her. For weeks he had been preoccupied. Meetings, phone calls, decisions that rippled through corporate boardrooms. But tonight, he saw something else. He saw the trust his infant son had placed in this stranger, this woman who had nothing to gain but gave everything she had. He cleared his throat. "I'm sorry. You didn't have to do that." He offered her a faint smile. "Thank you." She dipped her head. "Of course, sir. I just heard him crying. He nodded, glancing at the mobile above the cradle. How long has he been up? Not long, sir, she replied. Just sound asleep now. He settled onto a velvet cushion at the side of the cradle, the baby in his lap. She knelt on the other side, ready to resume cleaning, but the air had shifted. He looked at her, earnest. Could you stay a moment? I want to hold him while he falls asleep. Her heart fluttered. Few employers paused their routines for the personal touches. But she remained silent, letting him lift the baby, rocking him gently. The child nestled deeper, eyelids fluttering, until at last a tiny yawn escaped. The man smiled, relief flooding him. That's why I hired you, he said softly. Not just to clean this house, I needed someone who cares. She paused. Mop in hand, blinked at him. He looked vulnerable, a word she rarely saw paired with millionaire. In the soft lamplight, his features softened, high cheekbones, strong jaw, but tonight his eyes were the most telling, full of awe and a longing she recognized all too well. She returned to her cleaning, scrubbing the high chair in the corner, but her ears picked up his whispered words. Why didn't I spend more time with you, little man? The baby stirred but did not wake. He continued to no one but himself. Work consumed me. Board meetings, press conferences. I thought that was what mattered. I thought... He sighed, gaze distant. I thought I was doing it all for you, for us. But what good is all this if I miss these moments? Her breathing slowed as she processed his confession. So many parents in the corridors of power believed that providing houses and savings accounted for fatherhood. But the little boy needed lullabies, warm arms, and whispered stories about stars and dreams. She set aside the mop and approached him. He's calm now, sir, she said softly. Just needs to feel safe. He looked up, surprised by her gentle candor. You're right. He stroked a tuft of hair on his son's head. I think I needed this reminder. Her cheeks warmed at being called reminder. In her community, cleaning houses was honest work, but rarely did she expect to influence the heart of a titan. Yet here he was, humbled by his own blood. She turned back to the high chair, wiping its tray, clean. Between strokes, she glanced at father and son, an image she would carry with her for the rest of her life. The baby's breathing deepened as he drifted further into sleep. The man settled back, his posture more relaxed, as though he'd set aside an enormous burden. She gathered her supplies to depart, but he called out, Wait. She looked back. He lifted the baby, offering him to her. Would you mind if you stayed? Just until I make sure he won't wake again? Her heart beat swiftly. I'd be honored, sir. She took the infant gently. His finger twined around hers and she hummed the melody of a lullaby her mother used to sing. The notes were soft and meandering, weaving through the silent night. The baby's chest rose and fell rhythmically, and she gazed down at him. When? She glanced up at his father. His eyes held gratitude deeper than any paycheck could reflect. He sank to the edge of the cushioned chair and watched, arms folded as she rocked. Moments passed in quiet harmony. The ambient noise of the mansion faded. There was only the lullaby and the rhythm of a heart easing back into place. Finally, the baby dozed, the tiny head nodding gently against her shoulder. She placed him back in the cradle, rearranged the blanket tenderly over his chest. She smoothed the quilt, making sure no loose ends curled toward his face. He stepped forward and brushed back a strand of her hair. Thank you, he said again, his voice earnest. Then he paused, reached into his pocket, and produced an envelope. I want you to have this, he offered. She shook her head. This is my paycheck? He smiled softly. No, this is a bonus and a note. He handed her the envelope. She opened it to find a card that read, I will never forget tonight. Thank you for saving my son, and me. Beneath the message was his signature. The envelope bulged with crisp. Bill's tears pricked her eyes. She looked up at him, voice trembling. Thank you, sir. He dipped his head. And one more thing. Would you consider staying on as his nanny? I realize you already do more than clean. His lips curved into a hopeful smile. She blinked, disbelief mingling with joy. Her mind raced. This was beyond her wildest hopes. But as she gazed at the baby, now sleeping soundly, and at the man, whose world was shifting before her eyes, she realized that she belonged here, in this room of grand tilings and chandeliers. She belonged where her kindness could blossom into something lasting. She nodded, words catching. Yes, sir. I would, like that. He exhaled, relief painted across his features. The tension of a lifetime of ambition melted away. He extended his hand and she shook it with her gloved one. In that handshake, they sealed a new beginning. Not just employer and employee, but a family forged by compassion. Over the next weeks, his life transformed. Board meetings were scheduled around nursery visits. Contracts were signed in conference rooms that now doubled as playrooms. His colleagues noticed a change. Decisions came with empathy, strategies balanced profit with people, and late-night calls to her became a daily ritual of stories about mother birds feeding their young. She guided the baby's first steps across marble floors, wiped chocolate from his cheeks.
On celebratory days, and soothed his tears through scraped knees and heartaches, they shared laughter at breakfast, where she taught him how to crack an egg gently and watch the yolk gleam. He introduced her to his world of fine wines and charity events, but she rooted him in the simple truths of human connection. One evening, as they watched the sun set from the veranda, the millionaire turned to her. The baby, now toddling between his father's legs, squealed with delight as a butterfly landed on the railing. He cupped his hands around his mouth and called, "Look." She smiled as the child waved at the delicate creature. He placed an arm around her shoulders, drawing her close. "Thank you," he murmured, echoing the words of that first night but deeper now. "You saved more than just his tears. You saved me from myself." She leaned into him, contentment blooming like a flower. The mansion no longer felt like a cold fortress, it was home. And in every polished surface, every echo of laughter, down the halls lay proof that kindness could change even the hardest hearts. And so, in that gilded house on the hill, a black woman who came to clean discovered her true calling. She became the glue that held a family together, showing a millionaire that wealth without love was empty. And as she brushed the final speck of dust from a silver picture framing side it, a photograph of the three of them, radiant with joy, she knew that some treasures were simply moments of the heart, priceless and eternal.